Good afternoon, everybody. It is another episode of the Savage Patriots, and we are here to discuss a very, very, very important issue. And I want to put some disclaimers out there on behalf of the rest of the crew here. Um,
Mm.
so, if you are a person that is anti-government or anti-police and all that stuff, I should say anti-police, and you want to come to this discussion and bring up people like Brianna, um, and the house raid there, please do not conflate the two. They are completely different stories, completely different reasonings, and the two shall never meet. So if you do come here with that nonsense, just understand you might get pushed to Friday. Okay.
Become famous.
Okay. So tread lightly. Okay.
Always.
Tread lightly.
Because we're going to make you famous.
Yeah, we're gonna make you famous.
Mm.
So
We have no bounds.
in case y'all were unaware, there was a incident recently with the ATF, and the ATF responded, or I should say, let me not say responded. The ATF was found, should I say liable? They're not yet, right? They appeared at a dude's house and were attempting to confiscate his guns. It did not work out very, very well, because the man thought they were intruders and went to the door. And when they already kicked the door in, he fired shots, and they fired shot back and killed him in front of his wife. So
First time.
that is where we are right now, and they've been having hearings in the House about the ATF's procedure and how they did it. Yeah, the man's name was Brian Milanowski, and he was, like I said, shot in his home early in the morning. Mind you, they had a warrant to go search, not for his arrest, which should tell you something, to search his house, and they had it where they could do it when he was not home. They decided to do it early morning, and the theory is that they had intentions to kill him. They just wanted an excuse. Body cams were not on, so there is no anything kind of record as to how it happened, what happened, and why, and what all the transfer. All they knew is what the wife has said.
Hey, real
That's
quick,
where we are.
Mark.
Yeah.
Didn't they tape up the door camera too, right?
They did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Why
That's
would you do
sus.
that?
Well, you don't want to see your face on
Yeah.
camera. It might be ugly.
There's only one reason why you do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shady policing going on in the United
very
States.
shady. Very shady. But before we begin, I figured we'd start with something comical, because this discussion is going to be quite
Levity is what you're doing.
yes, it's going to be quite dank. It's going to be a heavy topic, because it's going to piss you off to hear the clown that is in charge of ATF talk. Trust and believe me, it's going to piss you off. So we're going to laugh first, and we're going to laugh at the expense of Lizzo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with South Park, but I'm very familiar with South Park.
Yes.
Yep.
I no longer watch South Park, but once in a while they hit things out of the park, and they did just that. They talked about Lizzo, and she responded by watching the segment that was about her, and her reaction is what we're actually going to be watching. So enjoy that for just a brief second.
Here we go.
I was telling you, Sheila, these new drugs are pretty amazing. I was feeling so ashamed of myself, watching Randy go out and exercise all the time and not eating as much. But I just don't have the same kind of willpower he has.
Which of the drugs are you on, Sharon? Ozempic, Manjaro?
Oh no, I talked to my doctor. He said insurance would only pay for those if I had diabetes.
But if you can't afford them, then how are you managing your weight?
Don't you know, Sheila? Now there's a whole new obesity drug for those of us who can't afford Ozempic and Manjaro. I've controlled all my cravings to be thinner with Lizzo.
It's Lizzo. FDA-approved Lizzo makes you feel good about your weight, and it costs 90% less than Ozempic.
I've lowered my standards and my expectations.
It's Lizzo. In case studies, 70% of patients on Lizzo no longer care how much they weigh.
I don't give two shits.
It's Lizzo. Lizzo helps
It's
you eat
Lizzo.
everything you want and keep physical activity to a minimum. Some patients report
man.
constipation while listening to Lizzo. Stop listening to Lizzo if you experience suicidal thoughts. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis, hypothermia,
Cut the
and
fucking
literally
album!
shooting out your ears.
About the power of not giving a fuck with Lizzo.
Period.
Oh man. Diet suppressor. That makes sense that it's a diet suppressor. Like an appetite suppressor. It's like I'm suppressing my need to diet just because I don't care.
Lizzo, they said the song will make you crap out your ear.
And he crapped out his ears. That is real talk.
Oh, anyway, I think we needed something like that because, man alive. Okay, so
Cancel.
Let's listen to.
So I've decided to go on Lizzo.
All right.
Just for that bit, you're welcome.
It's a little late for me. I can't do it anymore. I'm not as rotund as I would have liked to be on Lizzo, because I do care. I still care about my how I look. It's
Me too.
unfortunate for me.
I really do.
But you look like you're the post Lizzo situation, so that's good. I commend you for making it through, man. Good job.
Take care of that body, man.
Yeah.
Coy's at the start of his race.
Taking care of your body shows discipline.
No. Discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline. Gotta be disciplined.
All right, Jim.
It's a hot day and I enjoy a little bit of ice cream.
Tell us what
Good
this
sir.
man is doing, shall us? Let's listen to what Jim says.
The death of Brian Malinowski is a tragedy, but unfortunately, it is not a surprise given the cavalier attitude of the ATF over the years and the way that they play fast and loose with the law and with the facts and with the lives of American citizens. I want to ask you about the latest area in which the ATF is playing fast and loose and really taking actions that are going to endanger more lives in the future if we don't see changes. And that's the new attempt to have a universal registration check rule. As you know, the Gun Control Act makes it unlawful for any person, save a licensed dealer, to engage in the business of dealing in firearms until he's filed an application with ATF and received a license. The 86 Act modified the GCA, adding a statutory definition of engaging in the business. And then in 2022, Biden signed into law the BCA, which broadened the definition by eliminating principal objective and replacing it with a requirement to predominantly earn a profit. But I want to ask you, because people who make occasional sales, exchanges, or purchases of firearms for the enhancement of a personal collection or for a hobby, or who sells all or part of his personal collection of firearms, that portion of FOPA altered by the 22 Act?
So
Was the exclusion altered?
that language
by
is
the 22
in
Act?
that language, I believe. I mean, this is in litigation, our position, and the rule speaks for itself. But I believe you will find in black and white in the rule, that language that you just said, that in black and white in the rule, that language is there.
Yes, that language remains, that exclusion remains unaltered by the BSCA. So these people who make occasional sales, exchanges, or personal purchases of firearms for the enhancement of a personal collection or for a hobby, or who sell all or part of their personal collection of firearms, are exempt from this 22 Act modification. And yet what we see
For those activities.
right for those activities. All right, well, let's
They're
talk
doing
about
a
whether
whole bunch of
personal
other
collection-
things.
Right? Do you believe that a personal collection of firearms can be for self-defense?
So I think, again, the provisions of the rule speak for itself. And in this format, it's hard to get into a deep debate on this.
No, it's not difficult at all.
No.
If you would just
Why?
answer the question, we could get around real good. But man,
There's a couple
there's a-
questions I have about that because,
Yeah.
the case that we're talking about, was this guy just selling personal firearms? Is that why the search warrant was for? Like, what was the reason for and rationale for their search in the first place?
You know what? That's what we've been trying to find out.
Yeah.
Because they,
Like, if the
changed,
search
they,
was-
changed, they changed the topic of what they were going. So I like those arm braces. The guy that did the arm braces.
Mm-hmm.
They used to say that was an okay thing, and now it's illegal to have. And so apparently what they were doing is they kept changing these regulations without the approval of Congress, and they would go and start enforcing these changes despite having people believing that they're legal in their status of what
Right.
they're
So you turn
Right.
a law-abiding citizen into a felon
Yeah.
overnight and
Right.
not tell anybody, and then just perform a bunch of search warrants for
Mhm.
said arm braces.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, based off the ATF's, you know, definition of what's legal and what's not illegal.
Right.
It's a vague definition at that.
Right. Right.
Well, it's only vague as long as it's not a defense contractor, right? Because like if you really think about it, they sell and trade weapons all the time, but that's perfectly fine because they have a license to do it because we told them they were allowed to, right?
These people are weird.
Mhm.
Also have filed significant legal papers in courts that are hearing this. And because it's pending litigation, nothing I say can or should contradict any of those things. The rule sets forth conduct-based factors, which under the totality of circumstances, right, could give rise to somebody being engaged in the business or not.
I'm
And it
glad you
gives
said-
examples. It gives
I'm
examples.
glad you said
on-
conduct, because where did Congress make it a crime to merely intend to earn a profit off of selling a privately owned firearm? Because that's what you're attempting to.
There clearly is an intent element of this statute that
But
Congress
solely
wrote.
intent? There's no action?
Again, as in many criminal statutes and many statutes
I like
that are
the people
regulatory,
moving. That's best.
there is both an act and an intent. Sometimes those things differ from statute and regulation to other statutes and regulations. The text of the law and the text of the rule are
Didn't change.
always what controls.
Didn't change. And so your efforts to become mind readers over at ATF and somehow determine intent based on no activity whatsoever on the part of a gun owner to earn a profit
Well, Congressman,
is playing fast and loose with the statute yet again.
Congressman, not even talking about this statute, but in many regulatory functions and many administrative proceedings, many civil proceedings, people's intent is part of the determination that finders of fact make. They look at their words. They look at various different things that they're doing, and they can infer intent. I think the standard jury instruction in many cases talks about these things.
You can't do that.
I just want to know when Congress authorized ATF to require Americans who offer to sell even one firearm to another family member to get a federal license, submit fingerprints, maintain government registration paperwork, register as a business, and keep regular business hours open for ATF inspections.
Congressman,
They never did that.
let me be clear. This is not, the rule cannot and is not and does not create a universal background check. We could not do that. Only Congress could do that. And I want to be very clear here that the rule does not do that.
I get what you're doing.
Sure,
ATF
you change the
is
rule all
playing
the time.
too cute by half. The American people see it, we see it, and we're not going to allow you to do that. I yield back.
Boom.
So, Marlon, before we get started with that, I have could you pull that picture up for me real quick? I found out who McLovin turned into. That's what that guy reminds me of. He looks exactly like an older McLovin.
Wow.
He turned
Okay,
into an ATF
so
agent.
That's hilarious.
So
There you go.
they can just pretty much what that guy got on a stand and said is that based off how ATF feels, based off certain attributes, words, social media posts, you can add a whole bunch into it.
Mhm.
They can determine whether or not this person is a threat.
Right.
So what are those words though? What words do you use that makes you a threat to where you'll get your front door kicked in by the ATF? Unlawful.
I can probably give you at least 3 of them.
What's
MAGA?
MAGA might be one of them.
Okay.
A nationalist, if you mention anything
Patriot.
to do with you being a nationalist or patriot. If you posted anything around the J6 at all, you'll probably count it in there. If you have anything that has to do with where we go one, we go all. If you have anything that have the Gadsden flag,
Screwed.
if you have something that says "come and take," you're in trouble.
Black flag.
Didn't FBI already have a list
all
of
of
those
these
things?
things can be easily identified by them as a terroristic, because this is what Merrick Garland did with his enforcement after, was it the shooting
Patriot?
in Texas?
Yeah.
And so you have this thing going on now where they're going to incriminate you by the mere existence of your wish to protect self. So they're not going to just pass it off as and I think this is where it's going to get to. It's not going to stay in the realm of terroristic thought process or statements. But if you even remotely try to have a state where you are pro-America at all in the way it's been, you're going to be counted. You're going to be counted like that. And they're going to get the rights to do it, unless, of course, unless there's some sort of enforcement put down, which I don't think they're going to do, because a lot of these hearings is just talking.
I mean, they made a movie about this not too long ago with Tom Cruise. You know, it's called
I was going to say.
Minority.
There you go.
Yeah.
Minority Report, right?
Pre-crime.
Yeah, pre-crime. It's a pre-crime.
That crime.
This guy could have been a tax-paying, law-abiding citizen, done the right thing, took care of his family, went to work, did everything perfect.
These are the ones that they
and then
looking for. But
based off his words, they kick in his door and murder the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is Jim Jordan's initial interrogation of him, which I really think they need to have as interrogation, not questioning.
Yeah.
At this point, if you cost somebody their life because of stupid rules that you set down without the okay of Congress, and you think that you, an unelected portion of government, think you can just do something, that I don't see how this is even remotely good. But anyway.
Bach, what were you trying to hide? On the raid on March 19th at Mr. Malinowski's house, disabled the doorbell camera, cut electricity to the house, and you didn't wear body cameras. What we
now?
Ooh.
I want y'all to explain. Okay, we're going to break this down for you as simple as we can. The only people that does that are criminals.
Yep.
Criminals block your recording of what they're doing because what they're doing is illegal. And if you did have a warrant, you shouldn't have to worry about another camera recording what you're doing, especially if you're doing it by the book. You are required to put your body cam on. You didn't put your body cam on. Okay.
Yep.
So there's one of two things you're trying to do: mitigate your involvement or hide your involvement. So when you hear his response, though, when you hear this dude's response,
you guys trying to hide?
Mr. Chairman, we're not trying to hide things. In fact, after
seems like it.
After
you guys cut electricity to the house? That's a question.
I'm trying to answer.
No, you're not.
Okay, if there's no question, that's fine. I'm sorry.
No, that is a question. Did you?
After the incident, we, along with the Little Rock Police, called for an independent investigation being done by the Arkansas State Police.
That wasn't the question. I don't understand how it could be such a simple damn question. Why? It's a question of, we asked you why. I didn't go to filibuster about when we could have done an investigation after the point of impact to the people's family. That wasn't the question.
Right.
It's why.
And Marlon, you see this all the time when these government officials, corrupt, crooked government officials come in front of Congress. They get asked a direct question, very simple. Sometimes it's a yes or no answer. And they filibuster. They tap dance around the question. They try to steer the person that asked it.
Answer.
Try to steer them away from the question.
Right.
And that's a sign of deception. They're deceiving. He's deceiving the Congress right now. And Jim Jordan knows that. So he's not going to let it slide.
You know, in normal like court testimony, they always advise you to just answer in yes and no's, like always. But unless you're in front of Congress, then it's always dance around whatever you're talking about and talk for 5 minutes about nothing, and then hopefully it goes away.
Yep, that's what he wants.
He's going to filibuster more.
And the local prosecutor. That's not trying to hide anything.
I asked 3 questions. Why'd you put the tape on the doorbell camera? Why'd you cut the lights? And why didn't you wear the body cams? And what are you trying to hide?
And Mr. Chairman, the reason that we called for the investigation is
that's not the question. You entered a man's home, murdered him, and we ask you why you did these precautionary things by cutting his power, blocking his door camera, and not going in with body cam. It was 3 very distinct questions, you fool.
Yeah.
How hard is it?
I don't see how this is difficult. I mean, I can tell by the way you look like a wannabe Barney Fife. Right? You look absolutely right. I don't know how you got this position, but you shouldn't have it.
I think that guy was actually involved in
person
Waco.
than you.
And
Huh?
Marlon,
Right.
Marlon, think, what if this was a criminal? Let's reverse. Well, these are criminals, but let's say it was a crook, and he stood in front of the judge, and the judge was like, "Why did you cut the power? Why did you block out the camera? And why did you do this?" And he danced around like that. Well, the reason I did is because I went to the store and I got a bag of chips, and then when I grabbed the bag of chips, it's like, no, that's not what I asked you. Just answer the question. It's very direct. Give a direct answer.
Now, I'm going to go into some conspiracy here.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go on a conspiracy limb that will involve the Clintons on this. Now, hear me out. This man, Malinowski, was the local administrator for the airport in Little Rock, Arkansas. If you all are not familiar with the Mena Airport in Little Rock, in Arkansas, you'd probably not understand the drug ring that was happening there.
Yeah.
It just so happens that this particular man said, this is what they said. They said he violated federal gun laws by operating as an firearms seller without proper licensing. Now, what they won't tell you is how many guns he sold, what he sold it for, to what margin, and does he have a large enough collection to say that he wasn't just selling a gun he didn't want anymore. Now, this is where he's
or maybe he was
about
selling
this
off his
investigation.
collection.
Right. And this is where they're talking about we tried to have an investigation into the why they went after him, and that was never the question. As a part of his hobby of collecting, buying, and selling various items, Brian occasionally set up a table at local gun shows where he mainly displayed guns and coins. In Arkansas, a private seller may legally sell a firearm without holding a federal firearm license and without filling out forms or conducting background checks. So they had no grounds by which to go after this individual. They made something up because, like he said in the other interview, they are interpreting your motives for you.
Yeah.
And by doing that, they can say, well, no. This was intentional. It was intentional.
Plus, even at those gun shows, they usually won't let you do private sales in the first place.
I just know that some of the stuff that they're saying, they have yet to prove any of it. It's all what they say versus what, happened to the guy. But let him continue.
Not trying to hide anything. The reason I'm not going to talk about what's going on in that investigation is to respect its independence and out of fairness. There's a reason for the Department of Justice policy that's existed for so many decades about not commenting on pending matters. It's not fair to people, and it risks
He needs to stop.
the perception that people are trying to influence.
How about this one? Why'd you ignore the rules? Because don't the rules say you should only use a no-knock entrance into a property if it's the only way, if it's the absolute best way to do it? I mean, I can read from Miss Monica's
No-knock
directive.
should be illegal entirely.
Limit the circumstances in which agents may seek to enter a dwelling pursuant to a warrant without complying with the knock and announce rule because of the risk posed to both law enforcement and civilians. So you want to limit this. Why'd you guys do it all in 57 seconds?
Respectfully, with respect to what I said before, is that we are not trying to hide anything. An independent agency is investigating it, and we, pursuant to longstanding policy, are not going to comment.
The Department of Justice has already told us you guys weren't wearing cameras. I'm just asking why.
For the cameras, our body-worn camera policy, I can talk about that.
It'd be good if you did.
No.
It would be, if you say you could talk about it. You've been asked 4 different times now, and you are yet to talk about it. If you can, maybe, perhaps, I don't know, what's that word? Answer the question?
I think I can answer the question without talking about this case.
You can talk about some things relative to the investigation, but not others. We want all the answers to what's going on here.
I will tell you, with respect to the body-worn camera policy, the Department of Justice announced that policy when it was announced, as we have communicated to your staff and you. It was announced that it would be phased implementation. ATF is implementing that policy. We've implemented it in just under a third of our field divisions. We have not received 3 separate requests for program funding from Congress to do so, but we are still doing it. I watched a hearing a couple of weeks ago where your fellow chairman.
Did the Little Rock police officers who accompanied you on this raid, did they
I know
wear
damn well they do.
body cams?
Again, not commenting on this specific case, but in general, the Department of Justice written policy.
The question is about this specific case.
Yeah.
Look, this has nothing to do with the ongoing investigation. The question was, did they put on their body cameras? And if they didn't,
And the answer is
why
no.
not? If you didn't do it, why not? That has nothing to do with an investigation, unless, of course, it has everything to do with the investigation because you knew directly you weren't intending to put on your body cam, and the person you wanted dead is dead now, so you can start the investigation and come before Congress and lie.
Yeah. So
and put things into perspective. If that was a black man that got shot in that house and they turned off the body cameras, they turned off the lights, they covered the doorbell camera, we would have known right here on the spot about the investigation. They would have put it all out there for the world to hear.
Oh, was the guy white?
Malinsky.
Yep.
Well, you never know. Maybe he was like his mother's name.
Undoubtedly.
But here's the thing. He answered the question. He said that they're doing a phased implementation of body cameras, so they didn't have any. But the problem is, I know damn well Little Rock PD does.
Yeah.
And they weren't wearing them. That means you told them not to.
There you go. They operate under them.
That's my question, because like we know a lot of even small town police officers have body cameras. It is not a choice anymore because it is better to keep your officers wearing cameras in case of litigation than not. The only people that are scared to wear body cameras are people that are doing shady stuff behind the scenes, right? So, and my question is, why wasn't the Little Rock officers that were involved in this raid wearing body cams then? If you were, I get your answer. You were phasing yours in. You didn't have any. Okay, that's an answer. But why wasn't Little Rock wearing theirs?
Yep.
That would be my next question for him.
I don't think they'll give an answer for that.
No.
Because that means they told them not to wear them. Or somebody told them not to wear them, which is going to be a big, big oopsie on somebody's part. Because that means it was shady.
All right, let's
allows local law enforcement on these types of operations, short-term operations, to follow their own guidelines and policies if they wish.
If they wish.
Wow.
If they wish, there you go. So he's putting it on Little Rock, saying that it was their choice not to. That's what that comes down to there. Let me look that up.
If you are ATF and you recruit the local police to help you do something. Now, maybe I'm just being naive or stupid. Maybe that could possibly be it because I'm that on multiple occasions. Wouldn't that make you, because you are now responsible for calling them in, make sure they execute everything by the book? What do you mean if they wish?
And also, Marlon, them being a higher tier than the local police department, the higher tier's commander is the commander on the ground. So he dictates everything that happens, even with the locals, even with the local police department. That higher commander that's in charge, the ATF, he dictates where these other officers go, what they do, how they conduct themselves. So they were told to turn the cameras off because it's impossible. They had to be told.
Body-worn cameras. And what I wanted to say is...
Their policy was to wear them. They weren't wearing them that day. We want to know why. Did you tell them not to wear them?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Right there.
Yeah.
Watch
what I said.
Watch the question and watch his reaction. It's a pretty obvious answer. Yes, we did tell him not to wear them because we had intentions to murder this man. We could not have any physical evidence showing what we did. We had to make sure we went under the cover of night because he was doing something for somebody else that we're trying to protect. That's what he wants to say, and you can see it in his face. Watch.
In body-worn cameras. And what I wanted to say is...
Their policy was to wear them. They weren't wearing them that day. We want to know why. Did you tell them not to wear them?
Right there. Right there.
Because he can't say yes or no to that, or else like it's going to come back for perjury.
Yep.
No,
that was a direct question.
You murdered the man.
Yep.
You killed him.
Murder.
It was intentional.
Very. In front of his wife.
In front of his wife.
That's the crazy part. Holy cow.
That is insane to me.
They murdered a man protecting his home from invaders. At that moment, they weren't law enforcement because they never identified themselves. They were invaders. So what any man would do that is the protector of his home, he's going to defend his home by a gun he owned legally, and he shot at their feet. And that murdered in front of his wife. Imagine that.
Almost makes you wish that he had done something more than just a feat.
Mr. Chairman, again,
just bro, just answer the question. Did you tell him? No, we did.
This is
Why would we do that?
infuriating.
Why would we tell the police to turn off their body cam and break the law? No, we didn't. That's all you have to say. But the mere fact that you can't say that is the answer, because you did tell him.
Right.
It is simply unfair at this point while there's a pending investigation.
It's a simple question. We just want to know why they weren't following the rules. Their rules say wear body cameras. Your rules say wear body cameras. You weren't wearing body cameras. I go back to my original question. What were you trying to hide? We saw the video where you walked up and you put the tape on the doorbell. We know there were no lights to the foyer area. We have Mrs. Malinowski here who can testify to that. And we know you weren't wearing body cameras. What were you hiding?
Again, Mr. Chairman, we're not hiding anything. And with respect to the body-worn camera policy, the people there
Why on the
hadn't been rolled out.
12th? Why on the 12th did you not go and search the home? You were all circled up, ready to go, but a week before, on the 12th of March, you don't go. You go on the 19th. Why'd you decide not to go on the 12th?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, come on, dude.
Anytime they don't want to answer, this is the two things they say. Thank you so much for that question. Or they'll repeat your post, Mr. Chairman, Senator, Congressman, Congresswoman, sir. Anytime you hear that as the beginning statement, you're not getting the answer.
Exactly.
You're going to get a breakdown of what they had for dinner, which one of his sock is missing the big toe covering, whether or not it has Argyle design on it. If he uses it for golf, did he wipe himself with it before he walked in? Does he pee sitting down or standing up? That's what he's going to answer.
Definitely sitting down.
He definitely pee sitting down.
But not actually address the actual question itself.
Never.
Yeah. These operations, and by the way, we do about 11,000 operations.
Who cares, bro? We're not talking about the 11,000 or sorry, the 10,999 others. We're talking about this one.
Yeah. What does he want? Some type of validation for doing your job? That is your job if you're doing that many. That's what you're supposed to do. We are talking about, and he's asking you questions about this case.
People, bro.
Nobody cares about the rest of the stuff.
Each year. They're very dangerous operations. ATF doesn't do anything that is not dangerous. Well, it's not quite true, but many of them are very, very dangerous.
Who cares?
And those operations are handled by people with decades of law enforcement experience.
Irrelevant.
They plan them.
Gotta
They look at things.
Director,
And
you got to admit this is a little unique. You got a citizen, the highest paid official in the municipal government, Little Rock, Arkansas, making $260,000 a year, running the airport. No criminal background history, no, nothing, and he's dead at a pre-dawn raid when it sure looks like you could have served this search warrant when he wasn't there, but you decided not to. You decided to wait till he was home when you did it on March 19th, and as a result, Mr. Malinowski is no longer with us.
Well, first of all, let me just say this, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, any time that there's a loss of life, that is a profound incident. And of course, on behalf of just myself, ATF, and all law enforcement, we are very sorry when those things happen. Also, agent was shot that day, and I'm sure you are sorry that occurred also.
Of course, all the more reason to follow the no-knock warrant, not to have a no-knock warrant take place and follow the rules.
Mr. Chairman, as somebody who has worked with law enforcement for decades.
No one cares.
There's a great temptation when a horrible incident happens to prejudge. Sometimes people even try to use it to advance agendas. The cops.
You mean like you're doing now?
I just want the answer.
Yeah.
My time is expired.
advanced
I'm in
agendas
my
like
60s, and
they
even
kicked in his door and killed him, murdered him in front of his wife. That advanced agenda, no due
Yeah, advances
process.
agendas.
Thank you,
No due
Jane.
process.
Zero due process. They knew what they were doing, like Marlon said. This was planned. They waited. They changed the dates. They came in at the early hours of the morning, knowing that the man was home when they could have went into his house while he was gone on the 12th. They came in on the 19th, knowing he was home, knowing that he was asleep, turned off the power, covered the doorbell camera, didn't wear body cameras, no knock, went in and didn't expect a reaction. They knew what the reaction they were going to get. They knew it. They knew he was armed. They knew the reaction, and they dealt with it like they wanted to deal with it, because at the end of the day, it was about getting the weapons out of there. So if they can kill the guy, they can take the guns, because most likely all the guns are registered to him.
Yeah. So here's the Little Rock Police Department policy on mobile recording equipment, which is interesting. I was trying to look for body cam, but they actually say it under mobile video recording equipment, because that includes the vehicles too. So it's all in one policy, by the way. So if you're having trouble looking up your version in your city, it's probably under something else that you're not looking for, so you can actually see it. But here's the interesting thing. So this equipment shall be assigned and deployed at the direction of the chief of police. So I want to ask the question: did the chief of police of Little Rock say that they weren't allowed to use body cams? Did the ATF tell the chief of police that their officers shouldn't wear body cams?
Or did the ATF supersede the chief of police's request for body cams?
Right. Here's the question: who told the officers in Little Rock who have access to mobile recording? Because they all do. Like, this is their policy. They have orders for that. I'm sure a good, if not all of their officers, have body cam footage, like recording devices. Right. So that means somebody told someone not to carry them, because they have them. And especially if you're doing a raid, you probably would want to have one, right? In case something happens, like, I don't know, stay shooting a suspect. But it's better to have people just write a report, because that's the policy when it comes to failed recording down here in the bottom. Is that if it fails to record, they need to just write a report.
Yeah,
saying what happened. That's it. It's like just the officer's word, and we know officers never lie because they don't do that.
Well, the other question is, who's investigating the case? If the police are investigating the police, you're not going to find, especially if it's at the behest of the people telling them to turn their camera off. What do you think they're going to come up with? Well, for this occasion, we figured it would be best to turn off cameras, because what we didn't want is the light from the cameras telling the suspect we were there, or you didn't want this leaking out in the public arena and causing an all the kinds of excuses they can come up with for not having that camera on, you're going to see in this report.
Yep.
They're not going to have anything sensible to say. Chip Roy had a shot at this man.
Oh, yeah. I like Chip.
And this is Chip's turn.
Thank the chairman. Thank the director. As the director knows, I was a prosecutor under Project Safe Neighborhoods in the U.S. Attorney's Office. Worked closely with ATF in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. I share your sentiment about the patriotic Americans serving in ATF trying to stop violent criminals from moving drugs and using firearms against the law. In ways that are undermining the safety and security of the American people.
When it comes to Fast and
I want to thank those men and women for what they do every day in that service. But would the director agree that there have been times where ATF have not gotten it right? I realize that with respect to the case we've already discussed with respect to Mr. Malinowski, that you're saying that's an investigation, but what about something like Fast and Furious?
So, of course, like any agency, there are times where we don't get things right and can improve.
So, a couple of questions for you. Along these lines, I think it's really important for the American people to understand. Do you, as the director of ATF, do you believe that the American people have a constitutional right, an individual right, to keep and bear arms?
The Supreme Court has made it clear, and yes, The Second Amendment has been interpreted numerous times by the Supreme Court, just as you. There's more to it, but yes, what you have said, yes.
Okay, and so, but you believe that you interpret the Constitution that way.
I interpret all the laws the way that the Supreme Court says they're to be interpreted.
Lie, because if that was the case, you wouldn't be lying before Congress.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hello. If that's what you genuinely believed, you'd be honest, but you're not being honest. Now, you may end up being the scapegoat. I could get that. I can easily see you being the idiot they sent out in front of the crowd to say, okay, you're going to be the fall guy. You don't know very much. And I'll prove that he doesn't know very much about his position in a minute here. But you're the idiot. We're going to have you go out and Bojangles for everybody. And then when you get, called out on the carpet for lying, you'll take the fall. We'll replace you with somebody else who will go back and do the exact same thing. You're just a face anyway. No one really cares.
Yeah.
That's essentially what's happening here.
Yep. He's probably close to that retirement age. They're probably like, we'll send you, you'll be the fall guy. After we remove you, we'll just slide you on out. You get a happy retirement and you disappear and no one will hear from you again.
And he just goes to a lobbyist group somewhere.
Yeah.
And when the Supreme Court speaks on something,
would you have said that about Plessy?
Congressman, I work for a law enforcement agency. I'm not a judge.
But
I
I'm just
accept
asking
the
you,
rulings of the court, including that one. I'm not dodging your question.
Do you, as the director of ATF, believe there is an individual constitutional right to bear arms?
Yes, there is one. The Supreme Court has said it.
Along those lines, do you, as the director of ATF, believe that the federal government should maintain a registry or otherwise track, catalog, keep records of the transactions of firearms conducted by the American people, such that you would know what firearms I possess?
Congress has explicitly forbidden ATF from keeping a registry, and we do not. Again, we obey the law. We don't make the law, we obey it.
Do you, as the director, believe
Except when they went to
that
credit
the
card
federal
companies
government
and said they
should
needed
track
Listen to this again.
ATF from keeping a registry, and we do not. Again, we obey the law. We don't make the law, we obey it.
Do you, as the director, believe that the federal government should track ownership of firearms among the American people?
Congressman, we follow the law as you put it.
Would you answer the question, bro?
It's like point teeth.
There is a reason why, as much as I would love to be a member of these committees and part of Congress, I would literally get up and rip this dude's head off. For the kind of asinine responses he would have given, I would have instantaneously got up and punched his stupid face in.
And another thing, Marlon, why do they allow it? Why don't they hold him in contempt? Like, hey, man, you're not answering any questions. You're tap dancing around. We're going to hold you in contempt if you don't answer the question directly. They allow it.
Can they even do that?
I was going to say
they're supposed to.
Because I would imagine it's just like a court proceeding, right? It's like you lie, you get held for perjury. If you refuse to answer questions, you're in contempt, right? Like that's contempt. Yeah, contempt of Congress. If you don't come and answer questions, then you're held in contempt. I think that's what they got Bannon on, right?
Yep.
So if he's there but he's still not answering questions, how can that not be contempt?
Well, I have contempt,
especially since
right now.
it's because Congress has the responsibility to oversee federal matters, right? So federal jurisdiction over these agencies is the oversight committee's job. He is not responding to questions by a lawful organization that gives them the money, right? That produces this agency. And they're like, this is the thing it pisses me off about Congress, is that they're not actually doing their job. They allow these agencies to come in, say whatever they want, and held no account to that. They could get rid of their funding. They could hold them in contempt. They can hold them for perjury. Right? There's all things they can do against these people, but they don't. They never do. Like, remember when Fast and Furious happened, and freaking what's his face? What was his name again? I totally forgot.
Who?
The other black guy in the office of ATF.
Yeah,
Eric Holder. That's what it was.
Eric. Yeah.
Freaking Eric Holder lied to Congress and still has yet to face account for that, for Fast and Furious, which led to the deaths of American citizens, especially a Border Patrol agent. Because they, if people don't remember, under Obama, they created this crazy thing where the ATF was going to tag weapons and then give them to cartels so they could find where all the weapons were going. And then they lost them. all of them. And then those same weapons that they lost were used to murder a CP officer, Border Patrol officer.
Lost.
I want to see the rest of this exchange.
Yeah.
You pass it. You have said we cannot have a registry. We follow that provision and will continue to as long as it's
As
the
the
law.
director of ATF, do you have a position on that? Should we track ownership of firearms?
As director of ATF, my position is if it's in the law, we follow it.
If I want
Sure.
to sell a gun that I currently own to a friend in Texas, do I need a license?
So getting
Oh my
into the
gosh,
specifics
dude.
of the rule, which is in litigation. So
And
first
this
of all,
ought to be a really simple question.
I understand. Well,
It
you look at the
depends.
totality of the circumstances. If we're talking about an isolated sale from somebody who is not engaged in the business of dealing firearms, you
Okay.
don't need a license.
All right. So if I a citizen, this country, I live in Texas, I have a
Should've
weapon and
said
I want to
no.
sell it to a fellow Texan. On an isolated basis, do I need a license?
Again, if you are not engaged in the business of selling firearms, those are Congress's words.
If I post a sale for a firearm last year, okay, and I do that on some relevant website like TexasGunTrader.com, and I sell that weapon, I sell it for $500, and then I inherit a gun from my dad or from my uncle, and I inherit it last month, and it's like 6 months later, and I sell it, for another profit. I sell it for $500. And then less than a year later, I have another weapon that I inherit or I've gotten. I decide I don't need anymore, and I sell it. Is that engaging in the business? Is that engaging in activity that means I need a license?
I think pursuant to the clear language of Congress in doing this and to the things we've said in the rule, we specifically mentioned inheritance as one of the things that is not indicative of engaging in the business.
What if I have just 12? What if I have 12, 15, or 20 weapons and I sell 3 over the course of a year?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
I'm just saying, if I have about 50, let's assume I had 15 or 20 weapons and I wanted to sell 3 over the course of a year.
I think my
I'd like to
reaction,
make money on
my
it.
reaction to what you're saying is that you look at it's very clear that you look at the totality of the circumstances. We can go through an endless series of hypotheticals. Hypotheticals aren't the way we
Do you
address
understand,
cases.
and I realize them over my time, do you understand why the average citizen sitting out there saying I've got 400 pages of rulemaking might not understand what they are allowed to do under the law when the director of the ATF can't look at a member of Congress and tell me yes or no emphatically whether or not if I sell a weapon or 2 weapons or 3 weapons or 5, whether or not I need a license? Do you think that's the way the law ought to be or the rules?
Respectfully, I believe that the rule that we have promulgated provides way more information and clarity
In 400 pages?
than just the 1 or 2
No.
sentences that Congress provided. And we were seeing
And you can't
massive
even answer it.
noncompliance.
How can the average American know it?
We were,
So-
I we're in
Abolish
the business
the
of
ATF.
knowing,
Yeah.
and we would look at the whole case,
The
and we would
gentlelady
determine
from
based
Bob.
on the, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Lady.
So what I'm getting is that we need to go. All of us need to get our FFL license just to be safe.
Just to be safe.
We should all get our FFLs. That way, when I buy online, I can just ship it to myself.
I mean, that's with any law, there, and he's right. There's like 300-400 pages of all these laws, these regulations. I mean, you can go from the tax code, you can go to gun sales, you can go to everything. The average American doesn't understand it. We want a
No.
direct answer, cut and dry. Am I allowed to sell this many weapons to a friend in a private sale? Yes
Or no.
or no?
Or how many
He
weapons
can't
am I
do it.
allowed to sell within
Yeah.
a year?
They can't.
Calendar
They
year.
can't do it. This is that gotcha moment because they're not real clear on what you can do, but when you do it, they're coming after you.
Yeah.
And not to
It's
mention,
not clear whether an arm brace is or is not a stock.
It's not clear.
but let's not forget. There's also the language of they want to try and imply motive and intent too.
And now, mind you, they're applying motive and intent without a crime.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the
Here's the
crazy
thing
part.
that
There
always-
is no crime, but you somehow
Yeah.
I must tell you why I want to sell a gun, why I need to buy one. I now have to tell you when it's none of your business, according to the Second Amendment. I shouldn't have to tell you why I need anything, first of all. All right. I shouldn't have to describe that to you at all, unless you suspect me of doing something criminal. That's none of your business.
Yep.
But for then to you to go and ascribe a motive to me that is criminal when it's not, is giving you the license to come after me for whatever reason you may have.
Mhm.
And that was the whole intent. That is pretty much the whole intent of the ATF. When you look at the Oregon standoff, and when you look at the Branch Davidian thing, you see exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
They operate outside the law while trying to hide behind it.
That's right.
I mean,
That's what they always do.
put it.
Because like,
The way to put it.
Go ahead.
no, you go ahead, Michael. I'll someone after.
Yeah, but you've seen this multiple times, and this isn't the first time. And not every interaction with the ATF has been a murder. You know, you saw with this one guy, the ATF came to his house and asked him about a part of a gun that he bought. Without a warrant. They're questioning this guy, and they're like, "Did you buy this part?" And you know, your average American would ask yourself, "Well, how do you know that I bought this part, and why is it any of your
Because they're
business?"
tracking it. Yeah.
So they tracked him all the way to his house, then asked the guy if he was willing to give them this part for his gun that he just bought, and the guy was like, "No, go get a warrant, dude. I'm not giving you anything." So the ATF, and you see it so many times, that they overstep their boundaries. They don't, like Marlon said, they don't just get to determine, well, that looks dangerous, or, well, based off our rules, even though Congress didn't pass it, based off our rules, that's not allowed. And that's what's happening with ATF. They create a rule, and they go try to enforce that rule, which shouldn't be happening.
The most dangerous thing in the administrative state is having to prove your existence, right? So you have to look at it this way. ATF is a bygone system that doesn't really need to exist, because if you ask yourself, why does the ATF exist? It shouldn't, because there's no reason that alcohol, tobacco, and firearms need its own division.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can all fold that under Homeland Security if you really want to. All of that can go right under the DHS, and it would be just fine. The ATF doesn't actually need to exist.
First of all, alcohol shouldn't fall under anything to do with the government like that. You
Right.
already have.
We did that once.
You already
Didn't
did
work
that,
out
right?
well.
So you don't need the only reason I could see you putting it with that is so you can attribute the motive to something to do with some sort of substance, and that way you can negate yourself of any wrongdoing. Well, the person was intoxicated.
Yep.
He doesn't have to be intoxicated, but because it falls under our jurisdiction, we had to act.
When's the last time the ATF went after any alcohol distributors or tobacco farms? Right? Like, when was the last time they've done any raids for alcohol or tobacco? Right? It's only firearms. It's the firearms division. That's what it really is.
That was, the 1800s. I think the ATF is a branch off the IRS, which was, I think, was created by Abe Lincoln, and it was to track alcohol, whiskey per se. And now it just became this whole other thing. And you get the ATF, they're so worried about your average citizen, your law-abiding citizen that gets murdered in his own home. And I keep saying that, murdered in his own home. But we got gun smuggling, gun running, drug running, explosives, all types of stuff happening at our border. Shouldn't they be taking all their resources and focusing on that? Why are you going to some guy's house, some elderly man probably, knocking on his door, not even knocking on his door, coming in there and murdering him in front of his wife? Was that guy that much of a threat? And so, like Marlon said, there's something deeper. There's something else that's going on with that.
Look, I'm convinced that because of where it happened, that she had a hand in it.
Yeah.
That's not even like a super conspiracy thing. It's not the first time they would have taken out somebody that had to do with that drug running situation. It wouldn't be the first time. And I don't think it'll be the last. Y'all might think, well, he's too old. Drug dealing don't have an age limit.
Sure don't.
Just like Congress. It don't have an age limit.
It don't have an age limit.
You know what, Marlon? My little conspiracy brain just went off. So that whole Boeing thing? You remember all those Boeing whistleblowers getting knocked off? So this guy worked at an airport. Maybe they knew something that we didn't, that he was another whistleblower that was going to come out and start talking about the airlines and the maintenance. And they found a reason
to take him out,
to take him out.
Wait, was this guy actually tied to the Mina airport, or
No, he wasn't tied to Mina airport, but he's working in the airport industry, and that's was why my link to it, because it did spread from Mina airport to Little Rock airport. It wasn't just stuck to the Mina airport, this trafficking thing that Bill Clinton was involved in. But that theory that you came up with, bro, could easily be the subsequent one too that they're trying to get to. Because if you did take out was it? It's 3 now. 3 dead whistleblowers for Boeing.
Oh, it's 2. I was waiting for the
Two.
third one because they always
Yeah.
drop in 3s.
This
right?
he might have been the third.
Yeah.
He might have been the third.
Never know.
But
So-
like I said, the ATF, like alcohol, tobacco, can be thrown under the DEA, and the firearms division can go under the DHS. Like
Mhm.
ATF doesn't need to exist.
Yeah, and I'll
Well,
prove
tobacco
to you
does
now.
fall under the FDA, though. That's the crazy part.
Yes. And
Yeah,
so
that's
now you're
true.
going to see what I mean by the person answering the questions. 1, he's a moron.
Mhm.
But 2, more importantly, he doesn't have a clue as to what his division's supposed to do, what they're called to do, what they're allowed to do, or even what they're monitoring. They have no concept of what anything to do with a gun works like. They don't know clips, they don't know magazines, they don't know anything. A safety, he doesn't know. When I say he don't know anything, he don't know nothing. Here's the proof that he's an absolute idiot, and all he's doing is parroting points that he's been told to parrot because of this situation.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director, in 2012, John Spencer, Chief of Firearms Technology Branch, wrote a letter to Alex Bosco, inventor of stabilizing brace. We talked about this letter already. He said, based on our evaluation, FTB finds that the submitted firearm brace, when attached to a firearm, does not convert that weapon to be fired from the shoulder and would not alter the classification of a pistol or other firearm. You're aware of this letter?
I am aware of the letter, yes.
Did Congress pass, between this letter being issued to Mr. Bosco and the production and distribution of 10 to 40 million of these braces and the implementation of your rule, did Congress pass a law? What changed?
Congress did not pass a law, but something did change. What changed is that that item that was submitted was not produced and was not the item that was marketed. And Mr. Bosco, I think before this committee, said that people were using stabilizing braces in ways that he hadn't anticipated.
Okay, let
So
me
the
all right,
market-
let me challenge that assertion. So you say that the brace changed, and so you had to implement this rule. Well, I've got here the actual original brace that this letter was responsive to. Are you telling me that this brace is exempt from your rule?
What I'm saying is that if people have products that are not
Is this
designed
brace
and
exempt from your rule?
I can't sit here and classify.
This
but
is
if
the
it's
brace you
submitted,
wrote
we
the
will give
letter
it a
to.
classification, and if it's not ruled to be attached as a short-barreled rifle, it will not be subject to the rule.
Can I get,
Shouldn't
would
be
you please
illegal
quit telling
anyway.
this committee that the brace has changed and that's why you did the rule when in fact you're not exempting the same brace that you gave this letter to?
If the brace is submitted, we'll classify it.
Would you
with the
submit,
firearm.
do you
don't
still
have
have the
authority
same
to classify.
agreement that
Wait.
this brace that the ATF agreed to in 2012 should not be under the jurisdiction of your rule?
If that brace is submitted with a firearm, we will examine and classify it. If it doesn't
Okay,
qualify.
reclaiming my time,
Again, I want people to understand there's a few things. Again, I am not a gun connoisseur. I do use them. Love me some guns. But I am in no way, shape, or form, fashion on the level of people like Bro or Coy. They've been trained in this stuff. I train regular, crazy people way. And even I know that stabilizing brace doesn't do anything to impact the power of a weapon, the efficiency of a weapon.
Nope.
It does exactly what the word stabilize would entail. It makes it easier for people who can't hold the weapon properly to hold it properly. So the gun can do what the gun was actually created to do, not to emphasize, not to elaborate, not to add. It's a stabilizer.
So
But this
here's
guy
the
doesn't
thing.
even know the difference.
So here's the thing: is like most people view the stabilizing brace as a way to skirt around the regulation of SBRs, right? Short barrel rifles. It shouldn't even be illegal in the first place. You shouldn't need a tax stamp for a short barrel rifle in the first place because it falls under the NFA, right? Short barrel rifles do nothing to change the lethality of a weapon. All it does is changes the size, and if anything, it makes it less accurate because the longer the barrel, the more accuracy. The shorter the barrel, the less accuracy. Right? That's common sense. So, what they're saying is what makes the brace different is because if you use it on an AR pistol, mind you, I'm going to use the word pistol here because under the classification of the rules, the AR pistol, the AK pistol are all pistols. that can be held with one hand. But if you put a stabilizing brace on it, they say you can use it to put up to your shoulder, and then it makes it a short barrel rifle. Or if the brace is illegal, that makes it an SBR, which is now illegal, then turns you into a felon. So you could legitimately go to a gun store, buy an AR pistol or an AK pistol, and then they said, hey, all these arm braces are now illegal. You have a short barrel rifle. You're now a felon. That's what they did overnight, is they turned a bunch of people that had AR pistols and AK pistols into felons who now have short barrel rifles.
Ain't that crazy?
So basically what you're saying is that if I get an accessory to a firearm that is both legally mine based on my purchase on my own free will with no intent behind it other than I'm a consumer.
Yeah.
According to ATF definitions, I could be labeled a terrorist just because it changes a classification on their end. And not,
you know how you make it not illegal? You make the barrel 16 inches long. You could still have the same stabilizing brace on it, but as long as the barrel is 16 inches, now it's a rifle, not a pistol.
Boom.
Yeah, abolish the ATF. 100%.
Yes, abolish the ATF.
So as long as your barrel's long enough, it's fine. But if it's too short, well, you're a felon.
Anyway,
how is that even remotely?
It doesn't.
I know that's the kind of the effery that the ATF does.
Just wait. It gets so much. I don't know if funny is the word. Asinine. It gets so much more asinine.
Because it's pretty obvious you're misleading people here when you say that the braces changed, because your rule affects the braces that didn't change. How many days have passed? How many days do people have to comply with this rule?
So they can always comply, but the initial period
before they're felons.
But the initial period, I believe, ends at the end of May.
Okay,
but people
end of
are
May. So it was 120 days. Is that correct?
People are only felons if they intentionally.
Is it 120
violate
days?
The law. I believe it's 120 days from the
So
date
we've
of
got
public.
36 days left of the 120-day grace period. Can you tell us here today how many people have complied by registering this product?
I am not sure of the exact number. I can check though and get back to you. There are people who are making applications. There also can be detachment. So in other words, we don't count. That's not for us to regulate. If somebody we wrote the rule to make it easy to
be
comply
regulating
with.
anything.
If somebody just at their home detaches the weapon from the brace and keeps them apart, they do not have to register anything.
Holy
They
cow.
can keep the brace. They
Like
can
I
keep the
said.
business end of the gun.
Okay, that's a great clarification. So you're not going to do some kind of constructive prosecution where you say, oh, well, you had this and you had that and you intended to
They're
connect them?
keeping the, I mean,
They can just keep them
detaching
separately?
them as we
Keep them
approach
separately.
but
Okay,
and-
because
and-
that's not clear in your rules. What is the punishment if somebody is
cannot make
convicted
regulations.
as a felon under having this piece
Listen
of
to this part.
plastic?
If people are convicted of not following the Gun Control Act, it's a serious felony conviction, but
Is it
that
10
requires
years?
intent.
Can you just give me the number? Is it 10 years?
I believe it's a statutory maximum of 10 years.
10 years for
10
owning a
years.
piece of plastic
The-
that you were told was legal and that you owned for a decade and that millions of people did? This is what offends the
Sex offenders get
sensibilities of
fined, by the
Americans,
way.
whether they own these or not. Do these make the gun fire more rapidly?
No.
The
It doesn't.
Maybe
It doesn't.
Okay,
Because
so-
I had one of those stocks on my weapon in Afghanistan and Iraq. It doesn't do anything like Coy stated earlier. It doesn't enhance the performance of the weapon.
Yeah.
So
It just
let me-
makes it
let
a
me- wait.
little easier. It stabilizes it more, but it's not like that weapon can now. It's a 350 meter weapon, and at max effective range. Now it turns into an 800 meter weapon, and it's all of a sudden fully automatic. It doesn't do that.
Okay, so this is basically what this guy is saying. Pistol attachment, felon,
No felon.
civilian.
No, not
Felon.
yeah, exactly.
Civilian.
But
Felon,
he said,
no, like
and
felon,
notice-
felon.
Notice he said, as long as it's a part in your house and you have one part over here in your house and the other part over here, because we're going to regulate where you store everything in your house. And in your house, in your own home, you need to have them separate. You see
Why
the
is that
intrusion.
any of his? Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this is what we're saying: the intrusion of the government, and the government shouldn't be doing this. This is why you got to abolish these 3 freaking letter agencies. They have no business in our homes telling us what to do. If I'm physically trying to harm another individual, and there is someone getting hurt from the things I do, yes. But if there is no victim, there is no crime, and they've gotten away with this too long, and people just go along to get along. They need to start being more defiant.
That's still
because they can't
crazy to
stop
me.
300 something million Americans or 180 million American gun owners. You know what I mean? What are they going to do?
That's still crazy to me.
Second Amendment, pretty easy. It's shall not be infringed. It's
Right.
pretty
Shall
plain
not.
letter.
He sounded
Shall not be
he
infringed.
sounded an awful lot like the Grinch. The Grinch. Like, just
still-
answer a question, bro. Just answer it.
Answer it.
It's still crazy to me. Like, here's my gun. Here's the attachment. Right now, under the auspices of that particular directive, I'm a law-abiding citizen. But the moment I attach this piece to my pistol,
You're done.
I am a possible felon with absolutely no intent. But because they can ascribe motive and intent, I am now a felon facing 10 years in prison. But the
And
moment this
who's-
is off,
Here's
You're
the other
good.
thing.
Like I said,
Here's
put
the
this in
other thing they
perspective.
do. This is what they also do. They've made a rule change that if you even have one erroneous thing on your application, whether that be something misspelt, you put the writing in the wrong location, that is enough to get you arrested, because they see it as an intentional deception to the ATF. And so
Yeah.
that will actually bring them out onto you, even if it was a mishap on your writing.
So are they going to treat the Biden case in the same veracity as they did this case, where they sent
More
the
than
dude to his
likely
house
not.
to kill him?
they better.
Right, because like this dude lied on the ATF form, right? And then like got high, had the thing, and then had it, and his girlfriend threw it in a trash can next to a fucking school. Man, sorry, didn't mean to
Yeah.
cuss there, but it's kind of one of those things of like, you follow the law, but you don't follow the law as long as it's not involving the president's son and cocaine. Apparently, like there's all these things that they'll do that is okay, but not this,
Not that.
And then, like I said before, to put this in perspective, you get sent to prison for 5 years for touching little kids, but God forbid you put a piece of plastic together with a gun, and now you're a felon doing 10 years.
I would do anything for guns, but I won't do
That.
that.
I won't do that. No, I will. I don't care.
Hear how stupid he begins to behave. I mean, he's already dumb, but it gets worse.
Yeah, the stabilizing,
Do these increase the
Braces.
muzzle velocity?
the stabilizing.
Do
braces
these allow you're not answering any of the questions.
That's-
Do these allow the firearm to carry more
No.
bullets?
The stabilizing braces allow, if they're the kind that count, allow the firearm to be shouldered
Let me
in
ask
a
you
way
this.
that Congress.
I'm glad
determined
you
makes
brought
it-
that up. So this is a stabilizing brace here. Here's a pistol without a
Is
stabilizing.
it shouldered? Does anybody see this shouldered?
No.
Here's a quick question. When you saw that stabilizing brace, does that look like it can house your shoulder? Or better yet, when you put it on and the way it's strapped, Velcro, by the way, do you think you can then hold it against your shoulder? It does not allow it to be shouldered. It's a blatant lie.
Yeah.
And another thing, Marlon, you can actually shoulder the one without the stabilizing.
Thank
if
you.
you really, you can shoulder them both if that's what you want it to do. You don't need the stabilizing brace to shoulder the weapon. It may not be comfortable when you shoulder it without the brace or the stock, whatever they want to call it. It looks more like a stock to me. But either way, you can shoulder it. It doesn't change anything. It just looks scary. That's what they think.
Yeah. So like I said, it's like it turns it from an AR pistol to an AR short barrel
Looks too much
rifle,
like an
right?
You know what
AR-15.
AR should stand for? I own this gun for any reason. It's mine.
Yep.
Any reason. AR. It's an AR, any reason.
Yeah.
Period.
It's none of your
Is
business.
the buffer tube, could that be shouldered?
Oh,
Again, that would have to be submitted to the firearms experts at ATF, and we.
What are you?
oh my God!
I'm just the ATF director, man. I don't know things, all right? I just tell people what to do.
God. Oh,
That's this is crazy to me.
And these are the
Maybe you wanna
people.
put an expert
and-
into the ATF, yeah.
And these are the people. And coming from a military background and a law enforcement background, you've seen this a lot. When I say law enforcement, I worked in corrections, so you see this a lot. A lot of people at the top have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
have no idea. They just sign off on something and go with it because some lieutenant colonel told them, and they just run with it because they really don't know. And this guy really doesn't know. He doesn't do all the paperwork. He just gets something in front of his face. He probably doesn't even look at it and signs off on it because he trusts his staff. And then he gets up here and looks like a fool. And we're supposed to trust him.
That would have to be submitted to the firearms experts at ATF, and we could classify it.
Do you
which
think
we
you have
will
the
do.
authority to reclassify this pistol as a short-barreled rifle simply because it has a buffer tube?
Again, the rule is aimed at clarifying, and there are specific factors that are set forth in the rule.
Do you think you have the authority to reclassify the firearm above because it can be shouldered?
Again, for me to sit here and try to do a classification that firearms experts who've worked for decades do would not be appropriate. But we will give classifications, and if things.
Wait, hold on a second. So if somebody on his staff is trying to reclassify something, it has to go through his desk for approval, correct?
Yeah. Well, they can't.
Okay.
That's the thing, though. They can't. By the law, they cannot reclassify Jack.
But they do.
They don't have any no grounds to do that whatsoever. Any reclassification has to happen in the House, not by him.
Mm-hmm.
He abides by what they put down, but you don't get to arbitrarily change, adjust, fix, which is what they've been doing, which is why the arm brace is now something they consider illegal. No one passed that. That was them. It eventually got to the point where Congress agreed, but they did it first. They criminalized something that was legal.
Yep.
Look. People might think this is just, oh, well, you shouldn't be, why are you getting so upset about it? This is nothing big. It is a very big deal because if they can do it with one agency, they can do it with multiple others. Here's my point. Guns are already a hot topic, okay? So hear me out. If they succeed in having this non-elected body change elected people's decisions on laws, imagine what's going to end up happening when it comes to things like social media. Just imagine any other agency coming at you. Now, remember, FBI people are not elected either, are they? No.
Nope, right.
So suppose now they take it upon themselves to function as an arm of elected people, and they go after individuals in the general population simply because they interpret something of a law that has no way that interpretation could apply, but they decide to interpret it that way, and they go after citizens. Then they recruit the ATF, who also did not get appointed by people, to come and help them raid your home.
Mm-hmm.
Any firing you do back at them, any resistance you put up, they now have, in their own world, they have the proper reason to eradicate you off the face of the earth.
Yep.
And they can plant anything they want after that point.
Remember, they were trying to start the Ministry of Truth not too long ago.
Yes.
Remember the Office of Disinformation, right? That was going to be the ATF, but with speech. What you can and can't say, what's illegal and legal. That's what they were going to do, right? So, like, if you let these people continue to do these regulations that they make up whenever they feel like it, and not have Congress actually pass the act, basically, because the agencies are supposed to enforce the laws that Congress enacts, right? That's their job. They don't make the rules. They're not allowed to make the rules. Just like judges can't make up laws either. So when they leave up everything to the Supreme Court, that's just legislation through courts, which is not what we're supposed to do.
Which is why it got kicked by people like Roe v. Wade to states, because that's where it should stay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Technically and by law, that is exactly where it should not be a federal decision. That should be local decision and local only.
And that was medical freedom decision.
With this particular incident, though, this is not going to yield the kind of results that the wife, unfortunately, is hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband will end up dying for no reason whatsoever. Well, the reason is that he probably knew something he shouldn't know. But the bigger picture is that it's now going to get to be applied by everybody else on the local citizenry. It's not going to go away. This is going to get exponentially worse. The problem is this. There are some people in the United States of America who are more than willing to exit this earth the way that man did, but on their own terms. Now, I want you to be clear. I know quite a few people like that. that if you go and decide to step on their porch with that stuff, and you think that you're going to just be able to escape unscathed, and he's the only person that's going to exit, I guarantee you now, there will come an incident where there will be multiple ATF agents on the floor in pieces.
Yeah.
This is not me threatening nobody. I'm just telling you, when you're stupid enough to step on somebody's porch who is not stable, let's say he's crazy, but he's also crazy about keeping what he has, and you think you have the unsolicited right to go and deal with them, you get what you get. I'm going to look at you like the Joker. What do you get when you step on the porch of a mentally deranged person who's just trying to live his life in America? You get what you effing deserve. Pow!
That's right. And you know, Marlon, like this whole case right here, this whole incident, it shook the hornet's nest, man. Because there's a lot of Americans, gun enthusiasts, that are actually watching this. They may not think so, but they're paying attention. And I guarantee this won't happen again. It won't. Because the minute anyone feels threatened and somebody's at their door and they're doing all this stuff, cameras and all this stuff, people are going to have cameras up, people are going to have security stuff, and, you know, all types of stuff now. Law-abiding citizens are going to take these measures to protect themselves and their families from the people that are supposed to protect us. Isn't that a damn shame? You have to protect yourself from the people who are supposed to protect you.
Yeah.
And then if something happens, oh, back to blue, back to blue, back to blue. I'm not backing anybody that does stuff like this to the citizens they're supposed to protect. They are the villains, and I'm the reaper.
Yeah.
I'm just
So
saying.
here's the thing that I would suggest people to protect themselves, if all possible, is to have cameras. And one of the things you need to do before you start firing at people unknown, yell as loud as you can, announce yourself, and make known. And if they don't, you've already done your due diligence.
Yep.
Record it too.
Yeah, exactly. Because like,
Record
how are they
everything.
going to defend that if you said announce, make yourself known, waited a second, didn't hear a reply? You assumed they were a threat and you took action. That's your defense.
And here's the thing with, like Marlon stated, recording. Nowadays, everything can be streamed. So
Yeah, go
yes, you might have a local hard drive or something in your home. It's easy to take, but if it's streamed, the whole world sees it. They can't stop that. So you make sure to protect yourself, you always record everything. You have cameras at every angle of your house. And if they come, like Coy said, they better announce themselves. They better announce themselves, because this needs to stop. American citizens shouldn't feel unsafe on their own property from government agents coming in, kicking in their door in the middle of the night because they have guns.
Right.
And there was an airman that was recently killed because they went to the wrong house and shot and killed him while he was trying to defend himself. So like I said, before you do anything, yell, announce, and make yourself known. They don't make themselves known. You did your due diligence. Do what you have to. Not suggesting you should. I'm just saying that is a way to protect yourself.
No one's suggesting that, but you have the right to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that's
Which is what the basis of the Second Amendment is.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is about self-protection.
Worst case scenario, best case scenario, they're not the cops. Worst case scenario, they make themselves known and you're not shot and they're not shot.
They're not shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But in any case, we had to bring this to people's attention because it's been going on, but with all the bluster of people trying to talk about the Trump case, they're trying to slip as many things. This is what they do best. They slip a whole bunch of stuff going on in the background under the rug so you don't see it. By the time you wake up from the stupor that they've put you under in the mainstream media, you realize, wait a minute, when did that go away? Or when did that happen? What? What's this? What? How? By that point, it's too late. It's too late. It's already done. Now, we're going to be covering a lot more of these things like that because people probably even know that Fannie Willis is being sued by 3 different people now.
Good.
Okay. And for stuff that people kept saying that, oh, she's for the black voice, while purposefully going after black people. That's the kind of people that are trying to make you feel that Mr. Trump's the most racist person. When you have the KKK dude as your president, you got the one black woman, whatever race she actually is, Pacific Islander, who has been notorious for actually going after parents for truancy while telling everybody that she smoked weed.
Yep.
These are the people, that's them. Okay, so we'll be talking about that a lot on Come Wednesday. We'll be having tons of conversations about this because it's getting stupid. It's getting stupid. I shouldn't say it's been stupid, but it's getting more stupid. More stupider. More stupider. In any case, we'll catch you guys on Wednesday. This Saturday, we should be having a Rumble event, I believe, because we didn't have it last Saturday, so we should be on this Saturday.
Yeah, I won't be here.
You won't be here?
Remember, I'll be gone that weekend.
Mentally?
My son's thing.
Wow.
My son's graduating.
Then I want to wait till you get back because I want
my son's graduation. Yeah.
Tell him
I need to
congratulations.
attend that, man.
Thank you. Tell him congratulations for being an anomaly in the Black community.
Yes.
I mean, that's what they say. They're an anomaly. So good job.
He made it. The first step.
An interesting story we can talk about tomorrow. Apparently, there's a manhunt underway for a driver in Florida who decided to do burnouts on the pride flag.
I saw that. I want to buy that man a beer. I want to buy him a beer for that.
And there was a really interesting clip from Pierce Morgan that I want to cover. He was talking with an Israeli spokesman, and they basically said, "Oh, we have no idea how many civilians we killed."
Yeah, I saw that.
I thought it was funny. He handled him beautifully. It was great.
Makes sense to me that they don't know what they're doing. In either case, we'll catch you guys on the flip side come Wednesday. Mr. Lee.
Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you then. Peace out.